Hello everyone! Today I am going to be doing my Thursday video. I apologize, yesterday I wasn't feeling so well, so I wasn't able to make videos, but today I'm feeling a whole lot better, so I will definitely make today's video for Friday as well as Thursday's video, which was supposed to be yesterday. So without further ado, let me discuss for this Something Bad Thursday, overconsumption. Yes, overconsumption. The reason why I think overconsumption is really bad for any society is because it results in a lot of negative things that I will be discussing. But when I'm talking about overconsumption, I'm talking about people spending too much money and buying things that they really don't need. And again, these are things that they don't even really use half the time, or it's not providing them with anything valuable, or it's really all just for the sake of consumption or fulfilling this kind of need or void. And that's kind of the overconsumption that I'm talking about. I mean, we're all consumers, we consume, and there's nothing wrong with consumption as a means of economic exchange. But when it becomes to the point where you're over-consuming, then I think it really has a lot of negative results and negative impacts. And so that's why I kind of wanted to discuss some of the things that I think overconsumption provides that are sort of negative for our society in general. There's a lot of waste that ends up happening with overconsumption, and as a result, we get a really dirty environment. Even in my town, I will see this where people throw things on the floor that, really shouldn't be on the floor. They'll just toss things that are dirty onto the floor, and don't put it in any trash can. They'll just toss it. Or or you'll see even in lots of the stores where things are not organized and everything's all over the place, and it's just very disgusting, and it's it's really unsanitary, and it's kind of scary seeing these things. And I'm wondering, like, well, why are people not throwing things away where they need to be and putting things where they need to be? So it really has this dirty environment. I think this dirty environment really results from overconsumption, because I think people take for granted what they have, and when they toss something away, they don't think about what they just consumed anymore. It's just like, I just consumed it, and now I'm going to throw it away. And it's really, I think, that mentality that really results in a lot of pollution and people not really thinking about what they're purchasing or what they're spending their money on. It just seems like that there's just so much of that's happening, and I really don't understand it. I think it's unbelievable that this sort of thing results from it, but I think it really does, because I think people don't see the value in what they're buying anymore. So I think that's really a big issue and a big resulting factor of this overconsumption. Also, it leads to a lot of debt. When you're buying things, and a lot of things that you don't need, it results in people not being able to afford what they're spending their money on, because they're spending their money on things that are not useful and don't produce any capital themselves. Unless you're fairly well off and you can go and buy all of these things. It's always good to, I think, have a safety net, have a savings account, and put money in to save in case something happens. But this whole idea of just spending every single penny that you have, and trying to fill in that void, I think is just it's just a waste. And I think there's more value that can be found with um, with not even really spending money, or if you do spend money, then spend it on something useful. And instead, I think a lot of the times people just like to buy things for the sake of buying things, and hence you have debt. And the thing is too is that a lot of the times when people buy things, and I even hear this, like they'll say, "Oh, I'll buy it," but then they never wear it or they never use it. And so it's really, I think, what's leading to this amount of debt, because nobody's really considering the consequences, and it's just kind of living in the now of, oh, I need to spend. And I understand if there's like if there are certain points where people go a little bit on a shopping spree every once in a while, but this constant need to buy things, I think, is something that's really prevalent, and it seems like it goes to the point where it's not just consumption, it's overconsumption. And as a result, there's a lot of financial problems, and I think that's just such a huge issue. So that's another factor that really, I think, impacts this overconsumption. And I think too, when it comes to like advertising and trying to get a product out there, there's a huge emphasis on a lot of products that that don't really have any use, and I think it really results in people thinking that they need to have this one thing, and the advertising sort of leads them into thinking that this one thing will give them what they need. But at the end of the day, it unfortunately doesn't, at least for the most part, because again, people end up throwing things out, or don't end up really using it. So the advertising, I think, is only fueling that mentality of, you need to buy this now. This is gonna save your life. It's just kind of I just think it only puts fuel to the fire of already people having this mentality of trying to overconsume. There's also a problem when I think it comes to overconsumption that results in a lack of production. Now, for an economy to really function, you need both production and consumption. And I think we've put too much of an emphasis on consumption rather than on actually producing. So what ends up happening is that we go into debt, and I think that's a huge problem, because if there was more production within our economy, then there would be less of an emphasis on consumption. And I think that's really a big issue, especially when there's not an even-ended amount of consumption and production. Because if you don't have it to the point where they can sort of balance each other out, you get one that ends up being higher, and as a result, we don't have enough to ultimately produce, or we'll get more mediocre products, like a lot of the products that we have are literally from China. They're literally from China, and the quality is not that great. Even with our computers, a lot of companies are going to China to have them manufactured, and they're not as good quality compared to other countries where there's manufacturing, like Japan. So again, there is this huge issue, I think, when it comes to maintaining this structured balance, because we need production in order for people to consume things, but we also need that production there in order to keep up and in order to have, I guess, a sense of quality. And I think at the same time there's a lot of lack of quality when it comes to a lot of products because of this desire to put the products overseas and be manufactured in other countries where the quality doesn't end up being as strong. And again, this varies though depending on the products and things of that nature, you know. But I think this lack of balance is really what's throwing things off, and I think that's really a problem. And if we don't fix it, then I just think it'll spiral even more. So I think there are these things that are really important to consider when it comes to this topic. I mean, this is a very general topic. I'm not targeting anything specifically, but what I am saying is that overconsumption, I think, does have a huge impact, and I think is really causing people not being capable of managing their own lives, because we do see this emphasis on having to have things to sort of replace, genuine value. And that's why I think we're seeing this huge problem, at least I think within the United States. I'm not sure how it is with other countries, but I'm sure this kind of overconsumption is something that primarily exists within Western culture, but I can't really say sure how prevalent it is in other cultures. But I do think that there is this overemphasis of buying things, overspending money on things that aren't really necessary. Just wasting away the amount instead of spending it on things that can actually provide people value. And that's a huge problem, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. But I'm more than happy to hear anybody's opinion on this topic. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. But I think that's really all I can say about this discussion in particular. But I thank you very much for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.